Just introduced the Consumer Debit Card Protection Act legislation to repeal the Durbin Amendment to Dodd-Frank. I'm going to get to that in a second, Congressman, but I want to talk to you about these Democratic congressmen and what they're doing. They want to bring the banks up in front of the Justice Department. They think so there's an antitrust issue with these debit card fees. Apparently, the bankers all get together in a room somewhere and set fees. That's what they think. Here's what one of them had to say. Raul Grijalva.
It's a fairness issue. It's a consumer issue. It is imperative that the U.S. Attorney look at this with urgency and look at it as a necessary step to restore consumer confidence and, more importantly, to assure that there's fairness and competition in the marketplace.
All right. So, Congressman, do they have it right?
Well, I hope it's not just politically driven. I find it somewhat ironic that less than 24 hours after I introduced my bill, they're suddenly calling for a Justice Department investigation. Look, if there's evidence of something like that, of course the Justice Department should look at it. But I worry that we continue to demonize the very people that are going to be critical to growing our economy. And you're right, we got to get away from the political spin, but we need the economy and the confidence to come into the marketplace. And I don't think the Durbin Amendment or this Durbin fee is the way that's going to help grow our economy. Well,
let me congratulate you, first of all, of introducing a bill that is only 4 pages long. The trees thank you. But here's what you're asking, that we get rid of this Durbin Amendment, which essentially is supposed to cost banks something like $5 billion a year and is the reason behind some of these fee increases. That's what the banks say. Now, Jason, do you really believe that? I mean, do you really think the fees are going to go down if you rip away the Durbin rule?
Well, look, what they do is cut the fees basically in half. Well, there's consequences to that. And this is something I would argue that debit cards, credit cards, were actually working in America. Just remember, look back 10 years ago. You go to the grocery store, you'd write a check or have to use cash. The world is gravitated to debit cards and credit cards. They're safe, they're convenient. You put the risk and the onus of collecting payment upon the banks and the credit unions and whatnot. This is something that actually was working in America. And so why we go and try to demonize and then change and create these new fees and new regulations, it was actually something in this country that was working.
Well, you know, I'm looking at some of the bank results, earnings this week, and J.P. Morgan Chase is out. They say that their earnings aren't what they should have been, but when you drill down, what you find out is that this company was making $1 billion a month. Isn't that enough?
Well, when the president said that he didn't believe that Bank of America had an inherent right to a profit, I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, that should scare a lot of people. These are for-profit companies. They've got good employees that are working at 401ks that invest in these things. These too are Americans who work hard. They provided a great product that the country loves and uses. That's why the country is using debit cards every chance that they can get, because they work. They're safe, they're secure. There's a host of reasons why they do work. Well, and of course, they should make a profit. This is the United States of America. Companies should make a profit. That's not an evil word.
Profit's not an evil word. And let me tell you, debit card was the most popular banking product probably the last 20 years. So, you know, they're killing this by raising the fees on it. I've heard that there's an expectation that Bank of America, for example, could lose as many as 1 million customers. That's what the analysts, the experts say. But they have trillions of accounts. So at the end of the day, you know, it's not that important to them if a few people walk away. No. Look, I want to talk about...
I think it's killing them, Jerry. I would disagree with that. Look, they fight for their name, their reputation, too. I'm not here to protect just Bank of America. I'm just saying this affects credit unions, affects banks, small community banks. It's not just the big boys out there. It's everyone. And so this is something that's working in this country. Don't we talk about the need to inject credit into the economy? These are microloans that go out to people.
These aren't microloans. This is your debit card. You're taking the money out of your own account, for goodness sakes. This isn't a credit card. I mean, you know, look, at the end of the day, we all know how a debit card works. And we want the banks to work. We want the banking system to work. Americans need loans. But at the end of the day, we put a lot of money into these banks. We've given them every excuse to be profitable. They are profitable, and now they're raising fees on us. And I think you can understand why consumers were just a little bit miffed.
Well, they raised the fees on because they passed the Durbin Amendment, and I think it is rightfully called the Durbin fee. There is a tremendous amount of expense to provide the safety and the security and the risk. We hear about cybersecurity crimes happening all the time, and yet when we walk up, we place our card at the grocery store, we swipe it, we go to the 7, let's swipe it, we expect it to work, and it does. But that costs a lot of money to put in there, and I do think they have a right, an inherent right, to actually make a profit in doing and offering those services. That's why the country has gravitated to it.
Well, I guess the question is how much. Boy, I wanted to talk to you about Solyndra, but we're running out of time. Let me ask you something about your bill. Are you going to get traction with this, or do you think, is this just really kind of a protest by you? Because this has already been put in place. It's already passed. It's already working. Clearly, it's already working against people like Bank of America customers. Do you have any traction with this thing?
Oh, yeah. We introduced it in a bipartison way. A New York Democrat, Bill Owens, we introduced it in a bipartisan way. It's only in day 2. But, yeah, no, I'd fully expect that it's not just a message bill, that we actually pass this. I think the country needs certainty. The economy needs certainty. Consumers, when they start to recognize what the Durbin Amendment is actually doing to them, it's the little guy that's going to get hurt. When they start to realize what this legislation does, I think they're going to call for the repeal, and we have the bill to do that.
Well, can you please get Mr. Durbin to come on the show, because we keep inviting him and he keeps ducking our invitations.
Love to do it.
All right, Congressman Chaffetz, thanks. I know you've got a vote soon, so thanks for coming on the show tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry. Thank you.
All right, you're probably